So in one of my last posts, I was looking for getting a really good finish on aluminum, and I had achieved that with a 4-flute end mill and was pretty happy with it, but wanted to try and take it a step further with some other means of trying to get a really good polished or mirrored surface. Scotch-Brite pads work great, but they definitely leave a non-reflective surface. So some folks on CNC Zone, who were very helpful, threw out some suggestions, and I'm going to walk you through step-by-step today how to go from a piece of stock aluminum, which you can see right here in front, which has come from a factory. It's got scratches on it. It's still, a relatively square piece, but definitely has scratches on it, to what I finished this morning, which you're looking at right here, which is an incredibly reflective, basically mirrored finish piece, and all done with, for me, a surprising amount of ease. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the tools and items I used to get there, and then we'll go ahead and delve in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fly cut the part. I'm curious, there's a chance if you just went ahead and sanded it, you would be able to achieve the same results without the fly cutting, but I think it's a good example here to show in the event that you do need to make sure the surface is true and level. So we'll do that first. Now we're going to start with the sandpaper. The first thing I'm going to do is 600, and this is all going to be sanded wet. Once again, we'll get into this here. But the 600, I think I'm just going to use lightly to try and make sure I can get rid of the tooling marks from the fly cutting. The next step is going to be a 1200 grit sandpaper, which you can see is labeled right there. This is 3M stuff. Now, the 600 I was able to buy at a Home Depot. The 1200, and this is 2000 grit, I have not seen at many local hardware stores. Living in New York City, I was able to run over to a jewelry supply store and purchase this. If you don't have access to a local jewelry supply store and your Home Depot doesn't carry it, I would recommend getting a catalog from a company called Rio Grande. They sell it. It's pretty cheap, anywhere between 80 cents and $1.25 a sheet. So the next and final step is going to be a polishing cream. I don't have a buffing wheel yet, or a sort of a bench grinder with a buffing attachment, so I'm just doing this by hand, and I've been quite pleased with the results. I went ahead and just picked up what was carried at my local Home Depot. Alright, now we're going to take a fly cut pass. This is at 3,000 RPM, 20 inches per minute with a 1,000th inch cut. It's moving pretty quickly. Here we go. As you can see, as we're cutting, it's actually not catching the fly cutter on the whole part, so I'm going to go ahead and take another 1,000, but I'm not going to put this on video just to save footage time, but as you can see, the part that has been fly cut is looking pretty nice. I'll take another pass, and hopefully that'll finish off this part. Alright, so here's the part after I finished fly cutting it. You can see that although it has reflective properties, you can also clearly see the fly cutting tool marks. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing this on a TAIG, which is definitely not as sturdy or rigid as a full-size vertical milling center. So while I'm very pleased with the quality of the fly cut, and for all of you users out there, it's really important that you make sure your vertical column is properly trammed for this to get the best possible quality. This still is not nearly as good as what we're looking for in the end result, which is something that's truly mirrored and truly reflective. So I've got my sandpaper cut. I've got a piece of 600, 1200, and 2000. And what I'm going to do, I find that, actually, instead of just soaking the sandpaper, I find it's actually better to sand while actually under a running faucet, as you can see over there. So what I'm going to do, start with the 600 and use this sanding block with the sandpaper laid on it and rub the part over it. Alright, so here we are. I was going to just use the 600, but I found that the 600 was having a hard time getting rid of all the tool marks, so I did go ahead and use a little bit of 400 grit wet sandpaper as well. I'll post the link for all of these products on the blog web page, but as you can see here, I'm now done with the sort of the 400 and 600 grit paper, which The main purpose for that, for me, is just to get rid of the tooling marks. You can see it's left a really nice finish. There's definitely a little bit of a reflective nature on it, and it's hard to see on with the camera and on YouTube. It's still mostly a non-reflective sort of luster finish. So next step is going to be the 12 and 100 grit and 2000 grit, and then we're going to polish. Here we go. Alright, here we are with the 1200 grit. As you can see, it's really started to bring out some of the sheen and the luster. You can see actually my index finger is reflecting a little bit at an angle. But straightforward on, it's definitely smoother, it's better. It's pretty amazing that 1200 grit sandpaper really almost is more of a polishing paper than a sanding paper as we think of. Also important to note, the point of wet sanding is to remove the sanded debris and material away. So as you notice, when I was wet sanding under the faucet, every so often I was letting the part in the sandpaper run under run under water to try and clear that material. So very important to do that. Let's go ahead and finish off here with the 2000 grit. Alright, we are done sanding. Here is the piece after we finish sanding with the 2000 grit. Just basically continuing what the 1200 grit did, which is really just polishing it up. And by all means, if you were looking for a sort of semi-reflective or non-reflective type surface, this would be plenty good for an end product. And certainly wet sanding under the water like that is really the trick. But as I mentioned, I'm looking for more of a mirror type reflective surface, so we are going to go ahead and apply a polishing agent. Alright, here's the fun part. So I've got my piece and I've cleaned it off just quickly here under the water, and as you can see, we're looking pretty good, but trying to just bring it from the current sort of semi-reflective state where you certainly can't discern any reflection in it, but you can see the light, to really a mirrored finish. So as I first introduced, I bought this Moss product at Home Depot, I think about $5. And the directions are to just apply sparingly to a soft cloth, and you're going to rub it in, and then you're going to use a clean spot on that cloth to polish it. So here I'm going to apply just a little bit. Go ahead and cap it back up, and polish away. So you can see it's a pretty dirty looking color, and you can certainly see the debris the rag has picked up. But if we come over to a clean spot now and go ahead and polish that pretty hard, and then I find I can polish better if I do it like so. Keep in mind this would only be easier if you had something like a buffing wheel, but I find this is going to work just fine doing this by hand. And there you go. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and do that once more, or maybe even twice more, and you're going to see an even better result. Same process. I'm not going to record it though, just to make sure the footage. Alright, I finished doing that second buffing process, and here you can see the end result is looking pretty good. As you can see, the camera is showing up pretty clear in the reflection of the mirror there. The zoom is actually making it a little tricky, but very reflective, of pretty much a mirror finish. When I'm looking in a mirror, certainly able to read anything in the reflection of the aluminum. So here we are, 4 different pieces of sandpaper that are less than $1 each, and a $5 tube of buffing compound, and just a rag, and you got a pretty good looking result.